Okay, this is the lens that we're going to be talking about today. That entire opening sequence that you guys just watched was filmed on this lens, aside from the FPV shots, of course. This is the Tamron 28-75, and in my opinion, this is the best all-round budget lens for Sony that you guys can get in 2021, and I'm gonna tell you why in this video. This video is not sponsored. I bought this lens a long time ago with my own money, and I've been using it more than any other lens that I own for a few years now. I really love it, and I want to share with you guys why I think that is. First off, I would like to say, before we get too much into this lens, that there's no one lens that fits everyone's style. Everybody's shooting different types of things, and you need different types of lenses depending on the scenarios and situations that you guys are going to be shooting. So if you like to shoot content that is similar to mine or similar to the stuff that I create, then I highly recommend this video. If you are only shooting portraits, maybe don't get this, maybe get a prime lens or something like that. But for an all-rounder, run and gun, budget Sony lens, this is the one. Let's actually do some tests with this lens. And right now you guys are watching us through the lens that we're gonna be talking about in today's video. If you know me, we're not gonna be doing any like technical specs and all of that. We're gonna go out in the real world, out here, we're gonna shoot some stuff, and I'm gonna show you guys what it's like to actually use this lens. One of the main ways that we shoot is in a very run and gun style, meaning that we just like all over the place, rushing, trying to get shots as we go. We're not like really staging much and like retaking takes. And having a lens that covers such a wide zoom range is hugely helpful to shoot in that style, because we don't want to be changing lenses like mid-shoot unless we really have to. And if you want to change the lens just to get one different shot and then you got to change it back, we're missing all of the golden moments that are happening right in front of us. So something that's so nice about this one is just being able to go all the way from 28-75. And even in an example like this, if I wanted to shoot some style of like landscape photo, if I was all the way at 28, I can still do a pretty good job at doing that. It's not like the ultimate landscape lens because it's not quite wide enough, but on the other side of that, I can also zoom all the way into one of these surfaces and still get quite a nice shot there. Being able to swap between those is one of the biggest benefits of having this lens. Okay, Hannah, let's get you on this rock here with that palm tree in the background. It's gonna look nice with the blue water.
Standing or sitting?
However you like, you could sit on that rock if you want. I just want to do a nice demonstration of the full zoom range here, and so you guys can get a good idea. It's not necessarily as big as you think. So if we're all the way zoomed out, it's gonna look like this. And this is often how I'll shoot. And if I was to go all the way zoomed in, it is a pretty big difference, and something I really like about this, and my next point about this lens, fixed f2.8 aperture, which means that it's pretty wide open. You can get that nice shallow depth of field and that blurred out background, especially once you zoom it into that 75mm. It also means you can shoot some really nice low light stuff because of that f2.8 and your aperture being so nice and wide open. It's not amazing in low light. Something that you guys are going to learn about this lens, at least in my opinion, is that it's pretty good at pretty much everything, but it's not amazing at anything. And I think if you are going for one lens that you guys are going to use, that is something that you're going to have to just accept. You're not going to get something that's excellent at every aspect. Something I don't like about this lens is how the barrel extends like this. And the problem is because I am shooting with this lens the majority of the time, I often have it on a gimbal, and if I'm changing this, the weight of the camera is shifting so much because of that extended barrel that you should actually be readjusting your gimbal when you're changing your zoom. I don't really do it. Most of the gimbal motors these days are strong enough to handle it if you go all the way in, and it stays nice and stable on the gimbal anyway, especially if you guys are using the nice new gimbals like the ones from Zion Tech. One of the things that I don't like about this lens is that when I'm vlogging on it like this, it's just a little bit too tight being at 28mm. I would love if it just went out to something like 24 or even something like 20, because like this, I really have to stretch my arm out and it's still not really wide enough for the viewer, you, to see what's going on around me back here. It's kind of just like a close-up on my face, especially once I've been holding my arm out for a while. I'm gonna start to get lazy and it's gonna get closer and closer, and this isn't a very good vlogging look. So if you are doing a lot of vlogging and that's a priority for you, you might want to go for the wider version of this lens, which I actually made an entire another video about, and I have a whole review on that, and you guys can click on it up here if you want to check it out. What do you think of this lens?
It's my favorite. It's the one I use all the time. It does everything I need it to.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of things that I don't use it for.
If you're vlogging like this, you can see how it gets a little bit too tight. Will you take that gimbal for me, please?
Assistant, yes.
Okay, we are gonna head to one more location. The sun's getting really nice and low in the background. We have a pretty crazy spot that is like on the edge of cliffs, or I'll just let you guys see. I'm not gonna tell you about it, but
just told them everything.
Yeah. So how epic is this spot? This is one of my favorite spots ever to shoot. It's so crazy with all these landscapes and everything. I just want to take a quick second to talk to you about the sponsor of today's video, which is Cuts. And if you guys have been wondering why I look so absolutely fresh today, it's because of this Cuts t-shirt that I'm wearing. They are so nice, they're super nicely fitted, and they are this really nice fabric that like somehow magically no hair or anything sticks to it. You can choose multiple different cuts and colorways on the website, and they truly have like some really cool gear. Even though it's summer, it's getting cold now in the evening, and I got this super sweet hoodie from them in this really cool like desert tan color. Slowly but surely just swapping out my entire wardrobe for just cut stuff, and that's all I'm gonna wear because it's so nice. Yes, you can wear them. Yeah. Yeah. If you guys want to find out anything more about Cuts and get your hands on some of these awesome clothing items, you can check out the link in the top of my description. Otherwise, you can use code Kitching for 15% off. It is so nice and soft. I can't even wear any other clothes anymore, so do yourself a favor and go and check them out. Another really good thing about this lens is that you can shoot nice portraits on it because you have the focal range covered from 35mm to 75mm, which is the prime focal range that you want to shoot portraits. That paired with the aperture of f2.8 ends up giving you some really cool results. Instead of shooting straight into the sun, it's a little bit hot still. Can you go slightly down? Like maybe close to the edge there.
I'm not going that close to the edge.
Okay. You can see the portraits on here will look super great. If I shoot a nice one here with some of this foreground. Look this way a little bit, Hannah. You can see these are zoomed in all the way at 75, and if I was to shoot at 35, you can still get a nice amount of the scene. It's still a very cool shot of Hannah. A couple of downfalls about this lens, and probably the biggest one for me is that there's no image stabilization in this lens. If you guys are pairing this with something like the A7 III, which I am, there is in-body image stabilization in a lot of the newer cameras, and it takes a lot of that micro jitter and everything out. So let's do a little test here. I'm going to get you to walk down to the edge of the cliff here, Hannah. I'm going to do stepping movement, so I'm not even going to just be locked off like this, which would be a lot more stable. I'm going to do some footsteps, and you guys can get a good idea of how much the stabilization is actually going to be affected. Okay, so that's at full wide at 28, and you can see even if I zoom into something like pretty much at 75 now, I can still get some smooth movement. For sure there is a little bit of micro jitter. If you guys were to throw this on a gimbal or something like that, it wouldn't matter at all. So I don't think it's a huge problem unless that's really important to you. I think you can definitely work with it. Something that could be a pro and a con about this lens is that it's very light and pretty small. Going with that, it's quite plasticky and cheap feeling. It's okay, it's not bad. But the other thing I did want to mention is I've had this lens for a few years, and this zoom ring is kind of peeling off around the edge. But yeah, definitely not too bad. The build quality is pretty good. Is this lens for you? I think if you are looking for one lens to use with your Sony camera and you don't have an unlimited budget, there's nothing else really in the category of this that is gonna do what this will do for you. The only one that kind of comes close is actually the Sigma 24mm to 70. It's also fixed f2.8, but it is quite a bit more expensive. It's also a lot more big and bulky. So I still think this one is the better option between the two. Unless you have more money and you don't really care, maybe go for that one. But if you're looking for the budget one, this is the one that I would go with. So I hope this helped any of you that were on the fence about buying this, maybe thinking about getting it, or just trying to figure out which lens you should get as your first and only lens for your Sony full frame. Tamron f2.8, I definitely recommend it, but do your own research like you are doing right now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Do we get walruses here?
Oh god.